So we're here making a documentary about ketamine, actually. Do you know anything about it?
You have a lot of things that I've got.
Anyway, thanks very much. Documentary done. Ketamine has become the generation-defining drug for young Brits. Use has risen 30% year on year, mainly driven by 16 to 24-year-olds. It's no longer an underground choice. This strange, powerful drug is as mainstream as Coke or E.
Cat's kind of become a staple of our generation, especially in the UK.
You can sell hundreds of grams in a week.
There's a whole ketamine culture in the UK. The way people dance has changed due to ketamine.
What's a catty dance?
Come on, mate.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You got
it. All right.
There's a certain cognitive dissonance at the heart of Generation K. On the one hand, we see it as a kind of wonky, silly horse tranquilizer. On the other hand, it is literally a horse tranquilizer. A horse tranquilizer that can make you piss blood.
I've been pissing white cells, red cells, due to horrendous ketamine abuse.
So why do we do it?
We wanted to come up with a way to interview people up and down the country about their experience with ketamine, but we also wanted to give them the chance to be anonymous. So we commissioned a portable cat professional booth, which is obviously a brilliant pun, and we're going to interview people about cat in it. What are your experiences with ketamine?
I first knew about it when my mouth felt like it started melting. That was odd.
I think this is very much an afters drug.
And at the end of the night, when the Coke runs out, everyone's like, where is the ketamine?
Why do British people love ketamine so much?
This is cheap. Drugs are really fucking expensive in the UK. But when you do cat, it's like 20, 30 quid.
What the Cat Olympics? You go to rail, fucking massive line of cat, do a roly-poly, jump over this, jump over that.
I love being disconnected. You just feel like there's no problems in the world.
I think British people love cat because British people love to get fucked up.
If you had to use 3 words to describe ketamine, what would you say?
Very fucking wavy.
La La Land.
Wonky AF.
Perspective, viewed, outer. Does that make sense?
No, but yes.
Would you two care to confess your ketamine sins?
Never done cat, I'm afraid.
Really?
Yeah.
She has, though, I can tell. No. Okay. Someone's going to hell?
My friends are all getting to that age where putting veterinary medicine inside your nose is no longer acceptable on a weekday. So I'm heading to Reading University to meet some students instead. They're trying to get ready for a festival tomorrow, but ketamine has turned their packing effort into a Japanese game show. And they're taking a break to chat to me.
Hello.
Hello.
I see your catty face is already set in.
It is.
So let's start with the basics. What is ketamine?
It's a dissociative drug. It's a tranquillizer drug.
If you take it just by itself and you're completely sober, it can be quite trippy. If you take it when you're drunk, you do like one bump and you're fucking passed out. Like, I remember the first time I did it, I had 2 bumps, I was gone. I literally had like this little inflatable alien and I swear he was dancing by himself. Like, I don't know, it was alive.
Of course, when you do a lot of K, then you get K-holes.
So what is a K-hole?
I see it personally as like that line between being conscious and unconscious. It transports you to another, literally just like space and time.
So what do you guys have now?
These are 2 different cats from 2 different drug dealers. Because obviously we're going to a festival tomorrow. We picked up another 6 grams.
I heard something about a spreadsheet.
The fucking spreadsheet. Oh I'm getting out the spreadsheet. So there's about 20 of us going to this festival and we decided to put a big order in.
So which drugs are you bringing?
So we're bringing pills, cat, mushrooms, acid, and TCB.
Would you say that ketamine is one of the staples of any British drug taker's menu?
Yeah, 100%.
I think every generation's kind of brought its drug, like 60s acid, 90s ecstasy. Cat's kind of become a staple of our generation, especially in the UK. It's just so versatile. I think that's one of the biggest things about it. It can be a party drug, it can be sedative, it can be a very introspective thing.
We love to watch David Attenborough. And I bring this as well. When you have it in your ears, it literally feels like you're underwater. So when you watch like Blue Planet, it feels like you're in the documentary.
You should do the lines off this.
I could definitely do that. I'll do like a little bump.
Do you think there's a perception in the UK that, as opposed to other drugs, ketamine's quite casual?
Definitely, because it's more of a recent thing. You see less people who have been hooked on it for years. People just think it's not that big of a deal. And you don't get a come down or anything from it. Like, you can do K, and the next day, you're completely fine. I'm now regretting not bringing more because this is actually really fucking good. It is good. Oh, it's such a good time.
So before it became the drug du jour of ravers and students all across the UK, there's one group that's been using ketamine for decades before it was trendy: horses. It's so commonly used by vets that they now have to keep it under lock and key because so many people are stealing it up and down the country.
I had been invited to attend a veterinary procedure where an entire horse was about to be anesthetized with ketamine.
Have we checked the hoist?
Yeah.
Anesthesia machine and medication check?
Yes.
So what size dose of ketamine is the horse going to get?
So we normally give around 2.2 to 2.5 milligram per kilo. This is a 616 kilos.
So how many grams of ketamine is that total?
It's around 15 mils, no?
Yeah, 1,500 milligrams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so just 1 gram of ketamine will knock out a whole horse?
Anesthetized. Yeah.
Anesthetized.
It's actually wild that a mere gram can knock this horse out. I've seen uni students do that much over the course of a Tuesday night.
This is the first time I've seen any being injected with ketamine. Presumably they are going to inject ketamine and the horse isn't going to snort ketamine. Maybe they do have giant horse straws. I don't know.
Ketamine.
Oh, yeah.
How the eyes moving.
This is what they should do to people at raves when they're K-holding.
Okay, you guys happy? Yep. Happy to start moving? Yep.
Is it an issue, ketamine falling into the wrong hands?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So we've got a very stringent procedure here. It's locked in a safe and it needs to be signed out, and the quantities that have been taken need to be documented.
You come out of your K-hole now. Next time, maybe try not doing so much, mate.
If it takes this little to knock out a horse, then what's it doing to millions of young British humans?
Bristol is basically the spiritual home of ketamine. It's where there's more ketamine seizures than anywhere else in the UK. It all started in the 80s when some Bristol hippies were backpacking around India and realized that you could buy it over the counter there and that you can make tons of money if you brought it back to the UK. And now it's one of those popular drugs in the free party scene here. And there's even a term that people use, Bristol bladder, to refer to the erosion of the bladder wall from prolonged ketamine use. So we're about to meet a dealer who claims to be the pioneer of ketamine in Bristol. So we're going to the kitchen.
Yes, where every chef does his thing.
So I've heard there's loads of different varieties of ketamine. What's on your menu?
You got long shard, you got small shards, you got small ball, you got fine crystal, but most people want the small ball. That's the one that sort of hits the finest, is the cleanest hit, I guess.
How popular is ketamine?
If we go back into the early 2000s, it wasn't around here, there was nothing. In the last 5 years, it's rivaling cocaine on the party scene. You can sell hundreds of grams in a week. People have started to buy it more and more as the cheaper drug of choice. I've been around this ketamine rock for about 18 years and I helped pioneer it in this city. So you come to me because you knew what you were getting, and that was, well, you were going to space. Do you know what I mean? As soon as you sniffed the line, you were a NASA operative on the way to the moon.
Okay, so tell me, what is it? What are you doing right now?
Just going to show you a little microwave cook.
So you're microwaving it?
I just know a girl in it and she likes hers in a microwave, so.
I'm getting the feeling that you don't usually prefer to microwave it?
Nah, I'm a chef, innit? I like to sit in the pan, take my time.
So, okay, what are you doing now? Oh shit, is that really bad? You've got water on the ket? Is that meant to happen?
Yep. Ketamine is water soluble, so what happens is when you add a little bit of water, it dissolves. And away we go.
So what are we hoping has happened in the microwave?
As you see, you've now turned the crystal into a powder.
Right.
And this powder now can be broken down in the body. So you hear all those stories of people losing their bladder, and that's because they've sniffed crystals. The body can't dissolve crystals, but it can dissolve a powder. Now it's good to go.
Are there any people who buy off you who you kind of worry about selling to?
At the end of the day, that's the game. Drugs are mainstream nowadays. Everyone does drugs, so come get some.
So far, ketamine has seemed like a microwavable ready meal of wonky fun that goes well with after parties, festivals, and David Attenborough. But what happens when ketamine changes from a casual party drug to something you're doing all day, every day?
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yo, you good?
What are you up to right now?
I am just cooking up some ketamine.
Oh, okay.
For a ketamine connoisseur like Jack, the microwave won't do.
How often would you say you do ketamine?
A daily basis.
And how much per day, roughly?
Potentially 2 to 3 grams.
What do you like about it?
Creativity. You know, you can be in your own little world, and I found it helped so much with my photography, painting, drawing, artistic skills.
So now what happens?
I'm going to have a line.
Don't tell me that's a line.
That is a line.
Oh, that's a line.
That is a line.
For reference, this line contains 1 gram, the same amount that knocked the horse out.
Are you sure of that?
Yeah.
So how long has it taken you to get to the point where that's a line for you?
About 14 years. When I first started, I was doing very small lines, and then your tolerance grows and grows and grows, and you keep chasing the same thing every single time.
Sorry, just to correct you, are you 100% that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
And what are you getting out now?
That's cocaine.
Is that to take the edge off the cat?
Yeah, we call it Calvin Klein, call it CK. Sorted. I'll say that one for later.
So how often do you do one of those big lines?
Maybe 1 to 2, 3 times a day. Worst I've ever done was about 25 grams in one sitting. You know, it's like I've expanded my mind. I can see visuals, things trippy as fuck, and it's great.
Are you seeing visuals
visual right now? Yeah.
What are you seeing? Can you describe it to me?
It's more fractal dimensions and angles have changed. What? I could read out a poem, actually, if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red strands leaking from an orifice, viscous, and another day plunged into sickness. The decaying orb that should absorb, let those white suits in early. The state I'm living in, among crowds of well-to-do beings. What the fuck is he on?
Can I ask, is the red strands coming from an orifice, is that about pissing blood?
That is, yes, and I've got a photograph.
This is something you took?
Yes.
So is this your piss?
That is my piss. I've been pissing blood for a long time.
Right.
And chunks of white cells, red cells, due to horrendous ketamine abuse.
1 in 4 people who use ketamine, even once a month, have some kind of bladder symptom. When ketamine enters the bladder, it damages the epithelial cells of the bladder lining. These umbrella-shaped cells are designed to contain urine, but if they become too damaged, urine can seep through, damaging the inner layers of the bladder wall. This can scar the bladder's muscles, reducing its ability to expand. Symptoms can include frequent peeing, pain, and blood in urine. Because ketamine is a painkiller though, heavy users often don't notice. While many people believe cooking the ketamine reduces bladder damage, your kidneys don't care if it's crystal, powder, or liquid. If you stop using it frequently, the bladder will almost always repair itself. But a small minority will need their bladders removed. If you carry on using, is there a chance that you're gonna have to have your bladder removed?
Yes, they tell me that. It's a struggle. It's just, it's the creativity.
Yes, I know it expands your perception and helps you creatively, but I think you're also aware that it's also killing you.
Absolutely, diminishing, debilitating. It's horrible. It's a really tragic drug. I might need to take a second.
You need another line?
Yes.
Of
CK, yeah. Ketamine has just ruined so many people's bladders. It fucked up a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends have died through it. A few friends who've got colostomy bags now. 2 seconds.
You okay?
My little bump, actually. Yeah. Boy.
What would you say to people who think ketamine is just like a fun, light drug?
Don't touch it. And if you do, just do it in small amounts. It will absolutely annihilate you. And once you're hooked, you can't get out. It's almost very similar to the smack scene. You're always chasing that first time you've done it.
Is there a sense in which it kind of helps self-medicate for some negative feelings like depression or anxiety?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's a level of dissociation that I call it a fugue state.
Do you want to stop?
I need to stop. Otherwise, I will die. That's what I've been told. But I am finding it very, very difficult to break the habit.
Well, I think wanting to and having the motivation to is the first step, so
yeah.
I'm sure you will.
I will, yeah, 100%.
Good.
Yeah.
Up until I met Jack, ketamine seemed almost funny. But he's clearly in the midst of a dangerous addiction that could lead to organ failure and ultimately death. Most people will probably never get to that stage, but I couldn't help but think how many of the casual users I know are waiting to step into Jack's shoes. I'm on my way to meet a woman who was once known as Ketty Amy. For her, those silly nights out soon turned into a full-blown addiction. Unlike Jack, she's swapped K-holes for Narcotics Anonymous meetings, but not before almost losing her bladder. So how long have you been sober for, Amy?
4 months tomorrow, actually.
Wow, congratulations. Do you remember the first time you did Ket?
It was Ibiza. I actually got into it when I was doing seasons out there. It was a fun job. Me and my friends, we'd just do little bumps. We'd be silly. But it got to the point that I was taking it on my own and getting depressed from it.
And how much were you doing a day at that point?
At the height, I probably like 3 or 4 would be the maximum.
3 or 4 grams a day?
Grams a day, yeah.
Right.
I felt possessed by Ket, really. That's how I felt in the end, is that I just thought this drug's got a hold of me, which it did. And that's been me for the last 15 years.
Amy checked herself into rehab for 3 months to get sober, and she regularly comes back to the center to speak about her current welfare. Are you Dean?
I am.
Matt, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
As with any addiction, every day is still a struggle.
Hi, Amy.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm all right. 4 months tomorrow.
Wow, massive.
I've had urges, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've had some feelings, especially like around that weekend mark. But then I sit with it and tell my addict to do one, and then I'm all right.
In your time together, did you guys ever discuss any of the reasons why we think Amy became addicted to Ket in the first place?
Yeah, we spoke a lot about self-esteem, like validation from people, me wanting to get attention from the boys, always struggle with my weight. But then it's mad that then I'd want to then replace those feelings with a drug that people call an ugly drug. You don't look pretty when you're taking ketamine. It's complete insanity, isn't it, really?
What would have happened if you hadn't stopped ketamine and you carried on the way you were?
I'd probably have walked in here with one of those bags with weed coming into it. No, but like seriously, it was literally at that point. I would have either crashed my car, I'd lost my bladder, like I would be dead. Had suicidal thoughts, but I'd never be able to do that to my family and like deal with that.
This is a question for both of you, but are there some people for whom it's possible to take ketamine as a recreational, casual thing and for it to not be a problem?
Yeah, but there probably are people that can take it recreationally in the same way that there's people that can drink recreationally. However, 1 in 10, 1 in 15, they lose all control. And the thing about ketamine is it has all the same consequences that the alcohol, the heroin and the crack, but they happen really quick. Like young people losing their bladders, some of them teenagers. So it's becoming an increasing problem. So, Amy, how are you feeling about moving forward?
Excited. I'm so grateful to have my family supporting me. So my mind's quite free, and I just feel great with that. Hopefully I'll meet someone and make sober babies because I won't be under the influence of ketamine. So yeah, I can't wait.
I really felt it being in there with Amy because anyone who goes to raves or parties has friends whom that could happen to. It's important to remember that it always starts as a fun drug. It always starts as an after-party drug or a rave drug. And it's really hard to tell when that recreational habit is going to turn into a serious problem. And it can happen to anyone. And if you don't speak to someone, then that problem can end up taking your bladder and possibly your life.
And if you're using ketamine to enhance David Attenborough, come down off of ecstasy after a rave, or make the world temporarily hilarious, that's one thing. But if you are one of the people who find it addictive, then remember, a gram knocked this giant horse out, and he's way bigger than you.
Let's just get these wheels spinning the right way. Ooh, these wheels are fucked, Oh, this is so dumb. 2-second break, and then I'm back on the wheeling. These wheels are fucked, man. It's the wheels, they're completely fucked. They're fuckoed. This is one of the dumbest ideas I think I've ever had.